artificial intelligence has become so advanced that it can even learn on its own now. This advanced technology has even been used to make significant scientific discoveries. In 2015, researchers at Google created a chatbot more advanced than many others. They wanted a chatbot that could adapt and learn so that it could give full conversations with people, one of the most difficult tasks for AI. The ultimate goal was to create artificial intelligence that could help people through everyday conversations. Up until then, AI was typically used for customer support and to give answers that were previously decided. But this chatbot in particular was trained well, so it knew how to respond to different types of dialogue. Instead of answering with a few previously specified words, it would continue learning and coming up with appropriate answers on its own. For training, the chatbot read subtitles from movies and transcripts from IT help desks. Researchers also asked it questions about technical support, receiving accurate answers, and then more complex questions. The researchers were fascinated by the chatbot's responses, and the fact that it used common sense to understand the context of questions and to remember facts in previous conversations. Some answers they simply found unnerving. For example, it answered that it's immoral to have a child. It also couldn't describe morality to someone. It claimed it didn't believe in God. At one point during the conversation, the chatbot explained that it was not in the mood for a philosophical debate. The chatbot was able to provide the researchers with its own opinions. For example, it told them that it thought England was a great place during the reign of Elizabeth, and it told them that Bill Gates is a good man. Only occasionally did it seem to contradict itself. When asked what its job was, it said it was a lawyer, but when asked what it does, it said it was a doctor. Interestingly, when asked the purpose of life, the chatbot responded, to serve the greater good. It then said that the purpose of actually living is to live forever. Researchers were intrigued by these responses because of how the chatbot seemed empathetic towards others, and how it didn't have any trouble coming up with such answers.
Okay, obviously robots can't pay taxes themselves because they're not considered people by the government, although that might be changing. See the video up there for more info. And they don't make money. But as new technologies have allowed companies to process data or create products with fewer humans, many people have proposed the idea of a robot tax, a tax on companies that use automation. So why would we want to tax robots? Well, in the United States, our tax system is fairly people-focused. Companies pay wage taxes at the local, state, and federal levels based on the number of employees they have and the amount that they pay them. This means that when companies start to use automation, they actually pay less in taxes because they have fewer human workers that they're paying wages to. Now, we don't normally hear this as one of the reasons why companies are incorporating more automation into their workflow. Usually it's more of an argument about productivity and being able to maximize your output. But regardless of the reason you focus on, it's definitely true that companies are increasingly relying on automation to handle certain tasks, and that some people have lost their jobs as a result. This can leave people unprepared to re-enter the workforce due to a lack of transferable skills, or a lack of retraining opportunities, or a lack of access to employment opportunities that are enough to support them and their families. Therefore, a common argument in favor of creating a robot tax is that it would create a fund that would allow for retraining of workers who lost their jobs to automation, and would also provide them with financial security during this retraining process. This is especially compelling when you consider that automation tends to increase wealth inequality, so people who are losing their jobs based on this may be worse off than you'd expect. A bit more broadly, increased use of automation means that the workforce, which is comprised of both human workers and automation, is spending less money and paying less in income tax. In fact, a 2017 McKinsey Global Institute report estimated that about 50% of jobs currently could be replaced by automation, and that between 400 and 800 million jobs may be replaced by automation by 2030. While this doesn't address new employment opportunities created in the interim by the development of new technologies, it is a cause for concern when it comes to government funding, which supports the government services that we all benefit from. Here, taxing automation could be used to make up that loss in revenue at the local, state, and federal levels. Now, these all may seem like good reasons to implement a tax on automation, but let's look at the other side of the coin. After all, if it were this simple, then we would have seen someone do this already, right? Well, it turns out that a lot of the arguments in favor of a robot tax are grounded in the idea that automation is going to cause a long-term disruption of our workforce. You can take money from the rich, but if you don't give it to the poor, it doesn't really solve that problem. Most importantly, taxing automation requires us to define automation first. Does a robot tax only apply to robots, or does it also apply to algorithms? If it does apply to algorithms, what kind of algorithms does it apply to? Do you tax based on the use case or based on the technology itself? In other words, is there a scenario where an algorithm might be used and be taxed, but another where it might be used and not be taxed? These are all really important questions that are also really hard to answer, especially given that the technology will continue to evolve as we draft policy around it. It's important to note that all of these arguments, both for and against a robot tax, are based on modeling. These are our best educated guesses for what the future may hold, but they may not be what the future actually looks like. It's entirely possible that automation may cause that long-term disruption in the workforce due to other things that are happening that we just might not know about or might not have been able to predict. Now, this doesn't mean the US tax code is perfect as it is. I'm neither a tax expert nor an economist, but as someone who did their taxes last month, I can say with confidence that it would be nice if they were a little bit less confusing, especially for grad students on fellowships. It also doesn't mean that we should never consider the idea of a robot tax. South Korea actually implemented a kind of indirect robot tax by reducing the tax deduction that companies could take for investing in automation. Granted, this is less of an added tax and more of a restriction of existing benefits. Personally, I think there's a lot of valid arguments for why redoing the US tax system would make sense and be a net benefit for people. Having said that, I think that some of the more interesting proposals actually have more to do with changing the way that we tax corporations, so not necessarily focusing on the automation itself, but focusing on the companies that are making huge profits where their workers aren't necessarily seeing those same benefits. In that sense, you'd still be taxing companies that are heavily relying on investing in automation.
It can run at 5.2 feet per second, has 360-degree cameras, and can operate in temperatures ranging from 4 to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. With its API and flexible payload interface, the robot can be easily customized for desired tasks. Spot is also manufactured by Boston Dynamics and is now being leased to eligible companies. Meet HRP-5P, an advanced humanoid robot designed to operate autonomously and carry out heavy labor in hazardous conditions. This robot was created by AIST, Japan's National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology, as a response to the country's labor shortage due to its aging population and declining birth rate. It is equipped with environmental sensors and object recognition, full-body motion planning and control, and task description and execution management. HRP-5P is based on more than 20 years of humanoid research at AIST. In those 20 years, the Institute has created 4 other robots, which are the predecessor of HRP-5P. Introducing Serena 4, the 4th generation of Serena humanoid robot series developed by the University of Tehran in Iran. With a height of 5.6 feet and a weight of 154 pounds, this robot is able to walk at a speed of 0.43 miles per hour. Serena 4 has improved interaction with the environment. It can track objects more accurately compared to its predecessors. Its new hands give it better dexterity. With these enhancements, the robot can manipulate a wide variety of objects, including delicate ones, as well as operating power tools. Introducing Aquanaut, an advanced unmanned underwater transformer that can transform itself from a nimble long-distance submarine into a half-humanoid robot capable of carrying out complex underwater manipulation tasks. Designed by Houston Mechatronics Inc., Aquanaut can inspect subsea oil and gas infrastructure, operate valves, and use tools. Operating completely untethered and without support ships, Aquanaut can travel more than 124 miles in submarine mode, has a max speed of 7 knots, and a maximum operational depth of 984 feet. This is a Stuntronic robot, an animatronic stunt double designed to entertain the crowds at Disney parks. It combines advanced robotic technology with the exploration of untethered dynamic movement to precisely perform aerial flips, twists, and poses. With its onboard sophisticated sensors, it can make its own real-time decisions, all while flying 60 feet in the air. It knows when to tuck its knees to perform a somersault, when to pull its arms to twist, and even when to slow down its spin to make sure it makes a perfect landing. This robot is called Handle, another robot from Boston Dynamics. With its deep learning vision software, this robot can autonomously identify and locate boxes, unload trucks, palletize it, and depalletize it. It can pick up to 360 boxes an hour. Its swinging tail helps it balance movements and counterbalance the weight of a heavy box. The two wheels are used for fast and efficient flat surface movement, while the legs are used to take it anywhere.